Every professional has a unique magic waiting to be discovered. At Finding the Unicorn in You helps you unlock your hidden potential. Thank you for tuning in. Now switching it over to our host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finding the Unicorn in You. Today, I have a very special guest who is a podcast host, CEO, and human interaction expert who helps make work fun so people don't quit. I will let her talk everything about herself and why she got into this field. So welcome, Dr. Christie McMullen.
Hi, how are you, Dr. Jaime? It's good to see you again.
Likewise, very good to see you too. It's been a minute. So tell us a
Hi.
little bit about what made you want to get into this field and what inspired you.
Sure. So I have been an educator my whole life, like literally, I think since I came out of the womb. But I went to school to be a high school teacher. And then a couple years after teaching, I transitioned into teaching teachers because that's a thing. And what I discovered is that I figured out a way to get adults to learn that translates into all human interactions. So a couple years ago, I decided to start my own company where I help businesses figure out ways to make work fun so people don't quit. Because people quit things that aren't fun, right? It's not fun to go to a meeting and not be involved. It's not fun to be talked down to. It's not fun to feel like you don't have a voice in the room. And so I help organizations, specifically leaders, make it more, and I'm putting this in air quotes, fun by making people feel valued and appreciated, by making people know that they have a voice and are allowed to use it, and by giving people the chance to leverage their talents for the greater good, because that's my definition of fun. So I do that, like I said, for organizations all over the country, and I'm having a heck of a good time doing so.
I love that. So what are some, so and you say you started with in academia with teachers. Is that still the industry you do, or did you venture out into different ones?
Yes, and so I do still work with teachers because educators need this too, right? I believe that if you make every interaction safe, logical, fun, and memorable, that's when people will listen to you. And those people might be your students or they might be other adults. But when I transitioned out of education solo, I've worked with mortgage brokers and lawyers and doctors and people who work in Medicare and Medicaid and real estate agents. And what I've discovered is that what I talk about with safe, logical, fun, and memorable works no matter what the industry, because it's about human to human interaction. So 25 years of watching humans and figuring out how humans learn has taught me a heck of a lot about industry too. Because I would argue that every one of us is teaching somebody something all day long. But unfortunately, some of us are bad at it because we've never learned how. So, what if every interaction that you had with people was effective enough that they remembered what you said? Wouldn't that be great?
Oh yeah.
Because we've all had that moment where it was the Bueller moment. Why are they talking down to me? Why are they reading me a PowerPoint I'm perfectly capable of reading myself? Why wasn't this an email? And it can help industries not make those mistakes so that the time that they do spend with their people is productive. Because if you think about it this way, if I have a meeting and I'm paying my people, let's say $100 an hour, and I have 15 people on this meeting for an hour, that's expensive $1,500 that I could have spent in a lot of different ways. Wait a minute, no. Yeah. It's also a lot of money that could have been spent a lot of different ways that I'm instead wasting because it could have been an email. So I can save organizations money and get them a better ROI, because the other problem is if you have the meeting or the training or whatever and it's ineffective, you have to have time to do it again. People aren't going to know how to do the thing that you were teaching them to do. So it really is the art of getting your point across and making sure that you're doing so in a way that's repeatable for the humans that need to know what to do.
Nice. So do you see yourself working a lot with the C-suite, maybe leadership, so that they can learn all these skills and then pass it down?
Yes, absolutely. So as an example, I worked with a team that of C-suite executives that had just acquired another organization. So the two leadership teams were coming together and they were trying to figure out whose policies do we use and which way of work are we going to adopt. And they unfortunately hadn't yet figured out how to be a team yet. So I helped them do that first. And then they were able to go back to their teams and say, all right, we're going to try this policy and here's why, and here's what it would look like. So yes, it is typically my C-suite friends But it could also be a group of salespeople. So another opportunity that I had is I worked with a group of salespeople for a Medicare team, and they needed to improve their presentations because they were going in and selling something that 5 other companies were selling too, and they needed to stand out. They needed to be exceptional and extraordinary and not mediocre. So we talked about, okay, so how do you make your presentation safe? Meaning psychologically safe, learning people's names and talking to people before the presentation starts and getting to know their needs instead of making assumptions, right? Those kinds of things. And then the logical, you have to have a plan, you have to stick to the plan, but you can't be the only person who knows the plan. So if I walk into a room and I'm trying to sell something, I need people to know why they're there, how long they're going to be there, and what they're going to gain from their time. And I need to hand that to them before I ever open my mouth. But we so often think, oh, they're going to get that from my 57 slide PowerPoint that we're going to do in the next 15 minutes. And I'm going to read all 100 words on each slide. And so it's logical means that you are communicating your plan ahead of time. And then the fun, that's my favorite part. That means that you make people laugh because our brains only fire neurons when there's some sort of emotion tied to it. So I know you are a laughter yoga specialist and you know this to be true. But when we evoke emotion in our brains, that's how we remember things. So if you aren't evoking any emotion in your employees or in the people that you're trying to sell something to, or the humans that you're having a conversation with, your 16-year-old, for example, there are no memory connections happening. So
Mhm.
you better have time to say it again, right? Now you can evoke positive or negative emotion. I recommend you focus on the positive. But making sure that you are helping people fire their neurons when they're with you. And then last but not least, the memorable, you have to sprinkle, splash, flood, drip information. So I live in Florida where it rains a lot. And when it rains, you get these big fat drops that hit your windshield before it starts. That's the sprinkle splash. That's the email before you meet with a team that says, here are the 3 things we're going to cover on Tuesday. It's the prep work that you send to your team about the 15-minute meeting they're going to have on Thursday. So that sprinkle splash is like a preview to the movie. The flood is the movie. It's the event. It's the training. It's the 50-minute meeting that you're going to have with your team. And the problem with a flood is that you lose most of that water or that information in runoff.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is you can't absorb it. So if you flood, you have to drip. The drip is the water that falls off the trees after the rain. It's the follow-up email that says, here are the 3 things we talked about. It's the who will do what by when, to steal a page out of Brene Brown's book.
Yeah.
It's wrapping up with who will do what by when, the 3 W's. Or it's the, I'm so glad that you were able to come. And if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Follow. And so those are the things that I cover with teams, whether they're sales teams or C-suite teams, to get them to be able to repeat that with their group and not get stuck in this is the way we've always done it.
I love that. And it's such a very streamlined process. And it's so true. I think we're all tired of those like long business meetings that really doesn't, they're so dense. You leave with more questions than answers. And a lot of the times people are like having more meetings and you're having meetings about the meetings. And it's just like a
Blech.
complete waste of time.
And then you have the meeting after the meeting to debrief the meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So there is a great book called The Brain Friendly Workplace. And in The Brain Friendly Workplace, it talks about the 15-minute meeting and the value of the whole premise of the book is how do you get really high achievers to want to stay? And what we tend to do is we make a lot of assumptions about our really smart employees, which is all of our employees, that they're not going to get it if I don't say it, or we have to talk about this ad nauseum. No, you don't. Actually, that is ineffective. What if you gave them something to look at before the meeting and said, come with your question, and you spent the 15 minutes going over what we need to know to be able to implement the thing? But that's not what we do. We have people sit there, pay them a lot of money to sit there like this or to turn off their camera, right? And do their laundry while we go over something that I'm going to, if I need it, listen to on 2 times speed because it was recorded, right? Or I'm going to have AI now go ahead and summarize that for me. So we have to avoid that. We have to stay ahead of that. And we have to recognize that it's just ineffective. And
Mhm.
nobody wants to be bad at their jobs. That's not why we get up in the morning. But some people really are unintentionally because nobody showed them how to be good.
Yeah, that makes some sense, like 100%. Now, pivoting a little bit with being effective in your work in the workplace. So if you are an employee that's feeling, or even a leader, or somebody in the workplace that's feeling, you know what, I can do more. I want to be more effective. I want to progress in my career. What is one piece of advice you can give them to get started?
So lean into your superpowers. I believe that every one of us is a gift. What we have to realize is that the gift that we are might not be the gift that's needed in that space, right? So if we gave everybody we knew the same exact gift, I don't think people would be super excited about it. But when we specialize in our gifts, then it can be really special. So what is it that I'm really good at? So let me give you an example. Let's say that you are really good at data and spreadsheets and getting pivot tables, and those just absolutely float your boat. But I have you answering the phone for people all day long. I am not leaning into your gifts at all. As a matter of fact, I am putting you in a space where you are constantly having to be something you're not intended to be because it's in your job description. So, what I would encourage somebody who's trying to be more effective and to advocate for themselves is to one, figure out what am I good at? What am I really exceptional at doing? And then how can I make that what I do every day? How
Mhm.
can I go to my boss and say, look, these are the three things that I am excellent at doing. How do we need these? And here's how I think they could be leveraged. So that would be what I would encourage people to do is one, know yourself, and then two, be brave enough to advocate to be able to do more of that in your workspace.
Yeah. And it really does start with like really doing an assessment of what am I good at? What do I like to do? What is it that I excel at? And then once you have that information, then advocate for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're constantly having to do something that isn't in your wheelhouse, so to speak, what happens is it's a whole lot like wearing a mask, whether it's a snorkeling mask or a masquerade mask or a COVID mask. Whatever kind of mask we wear, it over time becomes difficult to breathe in that mask, right? Like at some point, you just want to take it off and take a deep breath. That's what it feels like if you're constantly wearing a mask at work. If you are constantly being asked to do things that is not your unique gift, then you are constantly breathing through that mask and it gets difficult. And so, my encouragement again is just to recognize okay, this isn't what I'm made to do, but our group needs this, and this is what I'm made to do. Now, I am not delusional enough to think that we're going to love everything about our job all day long. But if the bulk of our time is spent doing things that we're really good at, that benefits the company and me. And I would think most leaders would want more of that from their teams.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just like really getting people to really love what they're doing, find the motivation to get them to actually want to get excited to be there.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's why I say if you don't make work fun, people quit. So it's
Yeah.
fun to be doing something that you know you are good at. It is fun to be asked to be a part of the solution instead of always being told what the problem is. It's fun to be in that space. So that's my definition of fun. I'm also 100% extrovert. So what I think is fun and what somebody else thinks is fun might not be exactly the same. But what I know to be true is that when people are valued and appreciated, that's fun. I think there should be more productive joy in this world. So that's the name of my podcast. And I know you've been on it. So,
Yes.
what I believe productive joy is where fun meets action, right? Where the things that make us light up inside are the things that we're able to do to produce something. And that something might just be joy for somebody else. It might be an actual act that you're doing. But to me, fun and action or work and fun don't have to be mutually exclusive. They actually live together really well.
Yeah. And then going with that, that is a really good segue to my next question. What can someone do to manage all of that hard stuff, all of that, the icky like stress that comes with work and have more fun and relax and ground ourselves?
But I think knowing yourself is step one, right? Because you have to know what gets you out of those spaces where you're feeling heavy. But so I'm actually taking some coaching sessions with a woman named Amy Kemp. She is amazing. And she talks about she uses the habit finder, which is the habits that we have within us that make us do things and think about things a certain way. And she talks about power sessions. Power sessions are 30 minutes of very thoughtful time where you are accomplishing something. So you have to do the hard stuff, right? You have to push through the hard. But what we tend to do is we let those hard things fall off of our to do list because they feel scary. So instead, you script them. You say, okay, I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes and I'm going to stop at the end of the 30 minutes. And the three things that I'm going to do is I'm going to map out what needs to be accomplished. I am going to visualize what it's going to look like, and then I'm going to do the dang thing, whatever the thing is. But at the end of 30 minutes, I'm going to stop. And what that does for our brains is it tricks us to avoid the flight and stay in the fight, right? To be able to accomplish the thing. So if you're a Mel Robbins fan, she talks about the 5-second rule, right? If you count backwards from 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's the amount of time that it takes our brains to decide if it's going to do something or not. As long as you catch it within those 5 seconds, you can accomplish it. So your question about what do you do when it's hard, when you're faced with the junk? What you do is you have a plan. You stick to the plan, but you're not the only one that knows the plan. You have those 30 minutes and you say, I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to take out all distractions and I'm going to get after it for those 30 minutes. And then you're going to reward yourself at the end. The celebration at the end is the most important part. So I do have my doctorate. You do too. You know that is a test in tenacity, right? Like it is just a box checking. I got to do this thing. And anybody who has their doctorate knows that it is really hard, and you're in it when you're cleaning your toilets instead of writing your paper, right?
Yeah.
when,
Yeah.
when you find all the reasons why you shouldn't do the thing you're supposed to do, it's because your brain avoids the hard. So setting a timer, spending the 30 minutes really is the most effective way that you can knock out the really tough stuff.
No, definitely. And that's one thing I did learn is that my place was never cleaner than when I was writing my dissertation. Yeah.
100%. And oh, look at that. I haven't seen that in 10 years. I should take that apart right now and put it back together.
Yeah. No, and it's this mental blockage that it's like you're saying the flight or fight scene where your brain sees that as a potential danger. It's a survival tactic that this is scary. This is causing you an immense amount of stress. Let's do something else so that you don't essentially die. But our primal brain it's trying to help us, but it's hurting us.
And so we have to override it, right? Like you'd override a computer. You have to say, nope, sorry, we're not going to let you win. And the way that we're not going to let you win is by setting some parameters that you can operate within. It is extremely effective. And it's funny, I didn't call them power sessions before Amy, but I have been doing them for years. So especially when my kids were in high school and I needed them to write a paper, do a thing, I would set a timer, 15 minutes, be like, okay, this is all you can do for the next 15 minutes. And at the end of the 15 minutes, you can stop. They were unbelievably productive in those 15 minutes. So it's also giving yourself the opportunity to focus that we don't tend to do because we all say, oh, I'm a multitasker. No, not really effective.
Yeah. Yeah. We get distracted and it's really hard to do so many things at once. It's better just to, if you have all of these tabs, minimize the ones that you're not actually utilizing, save them, bookmark them, whatever, and then only see the task that you're doing. Because I actually got a presentation from a colleague of mine who does productivity. And she mentioned a statistic that it takes 23 minutes for our brain to reset after every distraction.
Yep.
So for every notification you get, every email, every phone call, it takes 23 minutes to start to refocus on task.
Sure does. And that is a 23 minutes I don't have to spare because if you think about it, you probably had an hour to do the task, but now 5 minutes into the task, you are 28 minutes into the task because somebody brought you lunch or you picked up your phone or you looked at a notification or whatever it was. And yeah, it eats up your time real quickly.
Yeah, definitely. No, this has been such an amazing conversation, and I can probably keep asking and peeling the onion even more, but we're getting to time. So I want to ask you the last question, which is the whole premise of the podcast, the unicorn question. What is the one lesson or the unicorn lesson that you learned in your life that has impacted you the most and made you the person that you are today?
So I think for me, I grew up as a daughter of an entertainer. My father had the longest running comedy show in Vegas. And I thought I wanted to be a teacher during the school year and entertain in the summers because I loved the idea of entertaining, but I really wanted to teach people things. And what I learned over time is that every educator is an entertainer, 100%, if they're any good. And there are ways to take all of your life experiences and turn them into not the final product, but the polished product that you can be. And so it's taken me 48 years, but in my 48 years, what I've learned is that every single thing that has happened to me to date was by design, not by default. And I have a choice. I can look at it as such and gain wisdom and knowledge from those things, or I can see them as being a victim to the things that have happened. And so I'm choosing victory over victimhood and recognizing that whether it was watching my father on stage as a young girl or watching my mother really kindly take care of people or being a first year teacher in a really interesting school with no administrative support, all of those things have taught me to be the person I am and have made me into the unicorn because nobody else has had the same experience as I have. And I'm a unicorn that the world needs. So
Mhm.
I can't hide that unicornness. I need to let it shine. And that's what makes my unique genius something that other people need.
Yeah. And somebody's always going to benefit from your perspective.
Hmm.
And just because somebody's already doing something similar to what you're doing doesn't mean they're not going to get more value from you. So
Right.
always put yourself out there. And then it's not a matter of people don't like me. It's a matter of people don't know you to get attracted by you. So it's like, how are people supposed to find you if they don't know you? So just keep
Right.
being consistent and showing out and just spreading your joy, spreading your talent, spreading your uniqueness.
Yes, I love that. I love that. It makes good sense. And I love what you're doing by bringing people's unique genius to light.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you, hire you, or work with you, how can they do?
Couple very simple ways. If you go on any platform and you type in Dr. Christie McMullen, you are going to hear from me. So that's ChristiemcMullen. You can also go to my website, which is aimwithus.com, because AIM is the name of our company. Because we help you analyze, improve, and move. So analyze your current systems, improve on those systems, and move towards change. So aimwithus.com. Or if you want to find productive joy, that can be the number one way, I think, because we're having so much fun. So amazing guests like Dr. Jaime are joining us on Productive Joy. And that's something that comes out 3 times a week. So twice with guests and one recap. And the idea behind Productive Joy is a free shot of B12 from really brilliant people in lots of different industries so that you can instantly find a nugget of wisdom and turn that fun into action. So any of those would be the best way.
Love that. And if you're listening to this, don't think that you have to jot all this down right away. Feel free to scroll down in the show notes. You'll be able to find it easily right there. And if you go to my website under the rainbowcareercoaching.com, under the Unicorn Wall of Fame, you'll see Dr. Christie on there along with her bio, her picture, and the links there as well. Any last words before we wrap up today?
Just a huge thank you for what you're doing and the opportunity to be a tiny part of it. I think the more joy we spread, the better. And I know that's what you're doing. So thank you for sharing your joy with the world.
Thank you so much. And with that, until next time, everyone, have a good night.